Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira, thumma amma ba'd. How many of you are, alhamdulillah, married and have children? Raise your hand if you have kids. Alhamdulillah. How many of you are 100% happy and satisfied with your kids? Raise your hands. So you're not supposed to be here then. No matter what, if you have kids, alhamdulillah, whether they're good or otherwise, there's always be a challenge. And there's always be an expectation from ourselves as parents. We want our kids to be doing things this way or that way. So there will always be that challenge. And specifically when they're younger, alhamdulillah, they're more obedient, they're more lenient, they accept and so forth. And as they start growing with us, we grow with them, that's when they start having their own personalities, and then we start having the challenge of, okay, which way is the way? There's a big challenge specifically between parents who grew up in different culture and now they're living over here, raising kids in this society. Now parents, they come to me and say, Sheikh, I want you to teach my kids blah, 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 things that they grew up with. And then the kids, they come to me and say, Sheikh, you need to tell my parents blah, 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 blah. So it's like, okay, what do we do? So how can we raise our children in a way without having to stress out about what's going on and what is right and what is wrong? What's the expectation? How do we set the expectation right for ourselves as parents and children as well? Even if you don't have kids, even if you're not married, this is actually a head start for you. Get to learn what are the challenges most parents they deal with in regard to raising children in this society. And if you don't have kids and if you're not even married yet, you are the son or a daughter of somebody else. So what are the challenges your parents dealing with you? So good to know, so you can bridge the gap, inshallah, to have a better conversation with your parents and with your children, inshallah. So this presentation is named Raising Muslim Children in the West. And we say the West, we're going to talk about what does it mean exactly. But just to let you know, inshallah, first, my name is YASER BIRJAS. I am the Imam of Valley Ranch Islamic Center. I graduated, I started actually engineering first, and then I switched to Sharia. Alhamdulillah, I finished that in 1996. I had my master's degree in education, specialized in adult education and training, which is why I do actually adult workshops and so forth. I've been an imam for the past 20 years in America, between El Paso, Orland Park, Illinois, and then currently Valley Ranch in the Dallas area, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Worked with Al-Maghrib since 2004, teaching young adults and adults for many, many years, alhamdulillah, a lot of courses, and then specialized in family course and family law, which is where we have these discussions right now. When I was teaching for Al-Maghrib Institute, my early students were still college students. So what they wanted to know is how they could get married. So we did a class called the Fiqh of Love class. Anyone ever attended the Fiqh of Love? Double weekend class. Not love notes, the Fiqh of Love. Anyone took Fiqh of Love with me? Wow, that's ancient, long time ago, right? Okay, so Fiqh of Love was double weekend class in which we taught everything about marriage. Everything about marriage. But then, alhamdulillah, my students, they came back to me and said, Sheikh, we listened to you, we got married. How can we stay in that relationship right now? We have some issues. So we did a one weekend class, we called it Love Notes, in which we teach more of like the psychology of marriage and how to make it right in the Quran and Sunnah, the Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, many years later, people come to me and say, Shaykh, alhamdulillah, we listened to you, we got married, we fixed the relationship, now we have kids. What do we do with them? How can we, take care of this thing? So we established another class called Protect This House, which includes family dynamics with your in-laws, with your spouse, with your children, and so on. So these are part of the presentation we do in these classes, inshallah ta'ala. One of them is specialized on this matter, the subject of family and specifically here raising kids in the West. When it comes to raising children, we're good. Doesn't have to be on it. Okay. So, are we responsible for our children? What do you guys think? Are you responsible for your children?
Yeah.
Yes. Is your job just to have kids and just bismillah, let them go free in range? Alhamdulillah.
That would be nice.
Allahu Akbar, right? That would be awesome. If we just have kids and just let them go in the pasture, inshallah. They will grow happy, inshallah. No, it's not, obviously. We are responsible for our kids. We are responsible for our kids by divine intervention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O you who believe, guard yourself and guard your family, your children, your spouse. He says, Nara, you guard them against the fire of hell. So your ultimate responsibility towards your children transcends beyond this world. A lot of people, unfortunately, they forgot about their true responsibility towards their children and they only focus on what? Feeding them, sheltering them, educating them, get them degrees, finding job, get them married, alhamdulillah, mission accomplished. Assalamu alaikum, let me go hajj inshallah now. No, your mission with your children goes way beyond this world. It's not just about providing food and shelter for them. It's about providing them shelter from the haram, shelter from that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what we do though, we are responsible only for making the effort. We're not responsible for the results, the outcome. We're only responsible for making the effort. So Allah is commanding us over here to guard ourselves against the fire of hell. What the Prophet ﷺ says in this hadith? Rasulullah ﷺ says, قال كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Each and every one of you is considered ra'in, which means a shepherd, and you are responsible for your flock. You're responsible for those who are under your care. And he says the man is responsible, the woman is responsible, so everybody is responsible for those who are under their care. So in the household, you are responsible for your children, you are responsible for your family. Now I ask you a question. Why would the Prophet ﷺ make a comparison or make this actually analogy between being a parent and being a shepherd? What's the comparison over here? I'll give you 1 minute. I want you to discuss with your neighbor next to you. Ask each other. Try to find out what are the resemblance. Why would the Prophet ﷺ resemble our duty as parents to being shepherd? What's the comparison over here? I'll give you 1 minute. Discuss it with your neighbors next to you. Go ahead. Bismillah. Come on, guys. Talk to each other. Bismillah. Bismillah. Guys. How do we do that? Okay. What do you see? What's the resemblance you see over here between being a parent and being a shepherd? What does it mean?
Patience.
Patience. Right? Why?
Showing directions.
Showing directions. Right? Do they always follow directions? So what do you do? Use the stick, right? Or a shepherd dog. Right? Like you look for help. Right? What else? But there's one thing that's important, yes. Being a leader. A shepherd is a leader. So leading. Leading what? No matter what you think, a shepherd is truly a leader. And subhanAllah, if you've ever been with a shepherd and spoke with them, these people, when you talk to them, they speak in a layman language, but the principles they share with you, like they are actually professional principles at the highest level of corporation. Even though dealing with animals, subhanAllah. So when the Prophet ﷺ was making this comparison between being a shepherd and being a parent, it's about leadership, it's about patience, it's about responsibility. There's so many things. So many things. And not just that, when you're a shepherd right now, and one of the sheep, let's say, slows down, what do you do with it? Do you go and slaughter them and say, Bismillah, Dabiha inshallah ta'ala? No, you carry it on your shoulder and you walk. Or you have everybody slow down. So there's always this sense, creating a harmony, a plan, a vision for everybody. You're responsible. That's why the Prophet ﷺ saying that you're responsible for your household as a shepherd is not just a trivial statement actually. It's a very profound statement. There is much more to it. If you go over the book of Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he speaks about the resemblance between being a shepherd and being a parent in a very profound way. Next. This is a statement done by, or said by a parent. In raising my children, I have lost my mind but found my soul. How many of you agree with this statement as a parent? I agree. You know, in raising your children, you lose your mind, but you truly find your spirit. Like I've heard that from many parents, subhanAllah. When they had their children, there are moments where they just drive them crazy, but there are moments where just like feel so fulfilled for being parents. I even remember some young couples who they came to me many years back when they were about to get married. One of their conditions in the marriage contract is that I don't want to have kids. I said, are you guys sure? They said, we don't want to have kids. I said, all right, fine. I mean, it's halal if you make that condition for each other, but doesn't mean you're going to stay there forever. So I said, sure, but later on you're going to change your mind. You'll see. Eventually, subhanAllah, a few years later in the relationship, khalas, the relationship became stagnant, they're getting bored right now, they need some excitement. So they wrote action. So they had their first child. And mashallah, they had their first child, and I asked them afterwards, and they said, you have no idea how life changed after this. Yes, it's not easy to be a parent, but it's worth it. In the dunya and in the akhirah, inshallah, ta'ala. What is the West? When we talk about raising children in the West, what does it mean to you? When we say West, what does it mean? Is it geography versus politics? Like, is West meaning somewhere in the West? And if it's the West, where would you draw the line where they say this is part of the West and this is not part of the West? So is it geography versus politics? Is it culture versus ideology? Like when you say West, what's culture and what's ideology over here? What is that? Dar al-Iman, that's a classical definition, right? But where is Dar al-Kufr from Dar al-Iman right now? Because we have more Iman right now for us as Muslims than some Muslim countries probably. So how do you define West in this regard then? So the whole concept of defining we're living in the West, it's for us, it's a cultural thing for many people. It's a cultural thing, which means if we're living in the West, we have certain criteria defines West, particularly culture. That includes food, upbringing, values, household rules. All these things are part of our definition of being from the East versus the West. But still, the definition right now is becoming more blurry. Why? Because our kids who were born and raised over here, they don't even have that differentiation anymore. That feeling of being in the West versus the East, for those who experience both sides, like those who were born somewhere, raised somewhere, and then came over here, they still have that kind of, differentiation. But those who are born here and raised over here, they don't know that what you're talking about. They don't even feel it. No matter how many times you take them back home, what you call home for yourself, when they come back again, they go back again to reset the button. They live in here. So therefore, the definition of West, obviously, is just a matter of cultural thing. Some, of course, philosophers, they try to create a clash of civilization, and that's why they always make the doom and gloom scenario between Muslims and non-Muslims, and all that's in between as well too. And these are definitions also exist in our culture as well, unfortunately. The whole concept, are we there yet? What does that mean? The identity crisis. Every time I go to a Muslim conference, they ask me to talk about Muslim youth and the Muslim identity. I said, come on guys, I'm sick and tired of this. Like we're stigmatizing our youth as if they're just, kind of like they all need counseling because they have no idea who they are. Let's take it easy. There's no big deal when it comes to identity crisis. We just need to make sure we understand how to define that. For us here, inshallah, we're not going to go over all of this, but as a group of parents, inshallah ta'ala, and future parents in Allah Azza wa Jal, we would like to discuss just how can we successfully understand what our kids go through in this society, in this culture, and in order, inshallah ta'ala, to raise our kids healthy in both ways, religiously and culturally, psychologically, all these aspects, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to start, inshallah, with an activity, so if you don't mind, I want you guys to stand up, if you don't mind. All of you, stand up, please. Okay. If you don't mind, because I've seen you guys might not know everybody here in the room, I want you to shake hands with 10 different people. You didn't shake hands with them today. 10 different people. Just shake hands with them. And then please create a circle of 10. You can use the chair, make a circle of 10, please. Get to know new people, please.
I not shake hands with you. Assalamualaikum.
I think I don't know you.
Okay. After you're done with your salam, if you guys can make a circle of 10, please. You can sit on the floor. You can use the chairs and make a circle, inshallah ta'ala. Do that as well. Let's just make circles of 10, inshallah. 10 circles of 10. Please.
When do we need this?
Right now. Right now. Yes, inshallah. Ladies, do you need chairs? Okay. Because there are plenty of chairs already. Bismillah. You don't have to have 3 circles. We can make them 2 circles, so you can join inshallah in the last one. Go ahead. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do inshallah ta'ala, after introducing yourself to the group and tell them how many kids you have, we're going to have a few questions for you to answer. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go over this quickly. Get your names, how many kids you have and their ages. Bismillah, go for it. 1 minute. Are we done? Okay, why did we ask you to get to know how many kids they have and the age of their kids? You know why? So you could know and identify who are the experts in your group. The people who have these kids in different age groups and ranges, obviously, will probably have something you don't have. You might be, mashallah, more educated. You might be probably wealthier. You might have, mashallah, a larger or smaller family, but they have something about that you don't have, which is the experience. So these people are the experts in the field. So we're going to learn from each other, inshallah ta'ala, about the subject of raising our kids with Allah Azza wa Jal together in this community. So the first question, out of 2 questions. Number 1, what are the top 5 parenting challenges Muslims face in the West? Like when people talk about raising kids in America, what are the biggest challenges they talk about? Like what are they afraid of? What is the thing that's keep driving me crazy, keep thinking, should we move to Dubai? Should we move to Riyadh? Go here, go there. What is bothering them? What are the top 5 parenting challenges Muslims have in the West? I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this to discuss that, and then write down your finding in the last minute. Go for it. Bismillah. Discuss this together. Okay. Bismillah. Let's discuss this together. Okay, let's hear from you guys. Let's hear from you. What do you believe are the top 5 parenting challenges that we have in the West over here? Bismillah. Let's hear from you guys. What do you have?
So the top 5 for us in order was identity crisis.
Identity crisis. So we go back again to identity crisis. Okay.
Discrimination of some sort.
Discrimination.
Different expectations.
Different expectation.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
And lack of good role models.
Absence of role models. Okay, good. Now this group, what do you guys have?
Each being asked why you're Muslim.
Say it again. Keep asking why they're Muslim.
Yes.
So identity crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
Then balance between
Respect and parents and being, who you are. So like cultural difference, cultural gap or generation gap.
and balancing Western culture.
So if we have generation gap and then we have cultural differences. Okay.
The realization of impact of their actions on their era.
I see. So basically, the religious responsibility, not understanding the religious role. Yeah. Okay, good. That's the spirituality crisis, basically, in that sense. Sisters, how many groups do we have over there, by the way? Okay, let's see. Bismillah, who's first? Okay. Identity crisis. Their spirituality, religion again. Okay, the social fitna they have around them. Gender interaction. And peer pressure. Okay, very good. The other group?
We had religious security.
Religious issue, yes.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Cultural difference.
Cultural difference.
Raising, it's kind of a double thing, raising future generations / like having respect and tolerance for families.
Okay, family. Yeah, the family respect, which is expectation basically.
And then, how many was that? Food choices, clothing, all that.
So being actually know their bound in terms of halal haram. Like they don't care if they eat, the biha or has pork or whatever that is. Gotcha. So it goes back into religiosity. So if you look at the tally of these points, which one do you think scored the highest?
Yes, I wanted one of the questions that we put in. I wanted it's not that they have the challenge of why they are being asked why are they Muslim, but it's for us ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
as Muslims? Why are we Muslims?
We have that. We're going to talk about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so once again, what is the number one thing you guys think that was scored the highest in terms of what we believe the biggest challenge for our parenting in the West? Now, the highest actually I have tied between 3 points: identity crisis, peer pressure, and spirituality and religiosity. These are the top 3 things you guys have issues with here living in America. So the identity crisis, which means kids being Muslims and Americans without having to clash these 2 identities together. Number 2, the peer pressure. You know that you realize that whatever you do as a parent is going to be undone when they meet their friends and so on. And number 3, spirituality and religiosity. No matter how much you tell them this is haram, don't eat this, don't eat that, eventually they're going to do what they want to do themselves and so forth. So that concerns me as a parent to show for my kids to understand their value, the importance of the akhirah. These are the top things that you guys mentioned. Then we have tie between expectations, cultural differences, and other things as well too. So keep this in mind for you as a community. Your community right now, your biggest concerns for your children is that to be Muslim and American, to be proud of both identities without having any clash between them. Also the peer pressure issue, so that at least you know how to mitigate these things between you and your friends and so on. And also spirituality and religiosity. I hope you guys keep that in mind, so whatever presentation, whatever service we provide in our Masjid, in sync with the real problems we face in our household. You know, sometimes we bring a lot of speakers to talk in our Masjid to give us a lecture on this subject and that subject, which is sweet and beautiful, no doubt about it. But it's not what's the immediate concern that we have for our families and our children. So therefore, make sure that we have a plan for this, inshallah ta'ala. Identity crisis, peer pressure, and spirituality. This is things that are very important for us here in this community, inshallah ta'ala. Question number 2. What are the top 5 favorite things Muslim parents see in the East? Which means those who've been exposed to the Muslim culture in the East, okay? When you have that moment of nostalgia, like you're just like, wow, I wish my kids, blah, 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 blah. What is that? What is it that you miss from being there in the East that you don't have here in the West? Discuss this among yourselves. Give another 4 minutes, inshallah ta'ala. Let's see the top 5 things that you have. Bismillah. By the way, in order for you guys to understand that question very well, like if you ever decide with your spouse to move the family somewhere in a Muslim country, why? Why would you do this for? Besides, maybe financially better, you don't have to pay taxes, all that stuff. But as parents, for your children, why is it better for you to move the kids to this country? This is why the things we're missing over here. Bismillah, go for it. Continue. All right, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Jama'ah. So first time we heard from the brothers, this time we're going to hear first from the sisters. So sisters, tell us what you guys have. The question was, what are the top 5 favorite things Muslim parents they see in the East? Like if you want to move somewhere there, why do you want to move there? What's the best thing you get there that you don't have over here? Bismillah, what do you guys have?
Respect for elders.
Respect for elders. Are you sure about that? I don't know if this is still there, but that's fine. Respect the elders. Okay, Bismillah.
Family support system.
Family support.
Hospitality.
Hospitality. What else?
Well, I think that was like.
That's the 3 major points. So you guys are concerned about respecting the elders, family support is not here, hospitality. But I know, different group. But for this group, this is the only thing you have, right? Okay. The next group, go ahead. What do you guys have?
We have number 1 is the adhan.
Adhan.
Practicing Islamic New Year. Number 2 is respect manners.
Uh-huh.
Number 3 is relationships with your family, extended families, people. 4 is there's more ease of people there are more accustomed to adjust better to circumstances, things like that. They don't grow up.
How do you know that? Okay.
And number 5 is there's more affordable domestic help.
Then vote for Sanders. Vote for Bernie Sanders if you want to get that for free. Okay. All right. Let's hear from the brother side here. Guys, tell us, what do you have here? Number one is the adhan. Family. Yes, the family support. So you feel that you are the majority? So you don't have to feel always like being minority. Very good. Better Islamic education system. That's interesting. Okay. All right, gotcha. Jazakallah khair. Now, let's see from you guys. What do you have?
The religious atmosphere,
Religious atmosphere. Okay.
and the family support, minimal or less peer pressure,
Less peer pressure.
absence of identity crisis,
Absence of that identity crisis.
and less confusion about what is halal and haram.
Less confusion about what is halal or haram. Well, now maybe there's more confusion right now. My kids, when they travel overseas, they come back and says, Baba, I thought we went to a Muslim country. There is a joke, and honestly, I don't know if it's a true story or not. But there was this guy who married a non-Muslim lady from Sweden. He was in Sweden, Europe. He married that lady, and after a few weeks, of course, a few months living with him, she became a Muslim, mashallah. He was a very good Muslim. He was always giving her da'wah. She became Muslim, alhamdulillah. Then, in celebration of that, he took her to his home country to go and see his family and his parents over there. And after living there for 2 weeks, his wife is telling her husband, she goes, by the way, when your family are going to be Muslim, inshallah. So sometimes that's what the reality is. We have idealism about the Muslim world, but we have so many things. So what scores highest amongst you guys over here? And you guys, what are we nostalgic about regarding the Muslim community or Muslim ummah? Number one thing was the family support. The highest thing that we're missing over here is family environment, which means our masajid responsible to provide maybe some sense of alternative. Like, for example, family programs, family activities, family nights, outings and all that stuff and so on. Maybe house, meetings and all these kind of things, subhanAllah. So provide that kind of service for each other. The second thing that we have is the religious atmosphere, whether it's the adhan or having religious atmosphere, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. And that is something that is extremely challenging because no matter where you go right now, that sense of spirituality, the sense of religiosity is kind of like, it's not the same anymore. Even when you go to Saudi Arabia today, for God's sake, they want to bring Nicki Minaj here during Hajj season. Can you imagine? So that's how much it's becoming disturbing, unfortunately. So we do have these issues. If you guys remember, from the first question we asked you, which is the top 5 parenting challenges we have in the West, the number one thing was, which is scored three actually things, identity crisis, peer pressure, and religiosity, right? With spirituality. Now, talking about what are the things that we miss in the Muslim world, or at least we want to have here, is the family support, the spirituality, and then we have after that many other things, like respecting the elders and so on. Keep that in mind as a community, inshallah ta'ala, what vision, what activities we would like to provide for the family, inshallah azza wa jalla. With that being said, based on your feedback, you guys can, if you want to face this direction, inshallah, we can do that now. When I go back to your seat, feel free to do that, inshallah. So, based on your feedback, and the feedback I got from other active communities, and also based on other readings and so forth, all of that stuff, you want to push this back here? The sister, they want extra space if you want, they don't mind. Because I don't think they can see the screen. Is that good enough? Okay. Alright, so based on all the feedback we got from these activities and other communities and so on, this is the top list of what people really need from their Muslim community and what they're facing here regarding the biggest challenges they face in raising children in the West. Number one was the religious identity. That's the biggest concern people they have about for their children. Their religious identity. Now, religious identity comes in different format, obviously. Like, for example, the boundaries halal and haram. They can't even tell halal from haram. The obligation of hijab for women, for example, if it's an obligation or just an option, for instance. listening to music that has all this vulgar language and all that stuff and so on. Also, being proud of being Muslim while still being a doctor, engineer, lawyer, politician, and so on. There are a lot of issues with the religious identity. The second thing, the cultural identity. Like, I still want my kids to be proud of dressing up like this, or eating this kind of food, or celebrating these kind of events, and so on. And we have challenge with our kids with these issues. Our kids keep saying, can we celebrate Christmas? Because they have more lights than we do for Eid, for example. Or Ramadan, do we have to fast all these days? It's too much, Jama'ah. So all these kind of things. Gender issues, which is something that was brought up as well. Like the interaction between boys and girls. And even if your kids go to Islamic schools, they still have some issue with that. The problem with our Islamic system, when we teach our kids, we're good at teaching our kids what is wrong and what is haram, but we don't have the mechanism or the proper education for how to do it right. So we keep telling our girls, don't talk to boys. Telling our boys, don't talk to girls. But if a boy comes across a girl and says, hi, she's just like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? All right? So we don't teach our kids, we don't have the right conversation with our children on how to have the proper behavior with the opposite gender, with full respect. Like speaking on an equal mental level, with respect, professionally, and this and that. All these things. Which is why, unfortunately, now when our kids go to college, if they don't have the right, instruction on how to behave in that kind of setting, it just, subhanAllah, everything goes out of control. Nowadays I go and I see kids at MSA gathering and outside of MSA gathering, they're just hanging out together, mashallah, like brothers and sisters. May Allah bless their souls, Rabbil Alameen. But they cross all boundaries under the guise of just being, friends. Is that what is the proper education that we have in our Quran and of the Prophet ﷺ? Number 4, education and schooling. It's a common question. I keep being asked almost every single day. I get a question from somebody, where do I put my kids? Is Islamic school better than public school? Is it better to do homeschooling, for example? So the issue of education. And when we talk about education, what is the main thing that people are concerned about in here? The peer pressure, brother. That's what we talk about, peer pressure. Because if we put our kids in Islamic school, alhamdulillah, they're all Muslims. So we think, alhamdulillah, the peer pressure is not there anymore. Well, I don't know. That perception, we're going to talk about the challenges, inshallah. Social life and social media. Our social life, there are a lot of restrictions. Our kids, they keep saying we have a lot of restrictions in our, cultural upbringing. You can't do this, you can do this, you can party, you cannot do this, you can stay up all night. What is it halal for me? What can I do? So our kids, they see challenges and we're unable to give them the right answer to this. And also drugs and addiction. Many parents, they think, no, alhamdulillah, in our family don't have that stuff. Maybe your kids don't actually chew drugs, but they vape, but you don't know that. They're vaping and they're smoking right now, and you don't even know that. Maybe they don't do that either, but they're addicted to something else online. Whether it's something such as pornography without knowing that, or the least they're addicted to is what, actually? They're addicted to attention. So like what? Yeah, addicted to attention. Where does this happen? On social media. If your kids have access to a smartphone and they have social media accounts, there's a big chance they're getting addicted to that sense of attention. Like the number of likes, the number of comments, the number of followers, which what explains today that kids, they are willing to compromise even their safety as a result of that. So they start undressing, just to post certain pictures of themselves who are not supposed to. That indulgence in subhanAllah. So it becomes extremely dangerous getting addicted to that sense of attention on social media. Of course, don't take it wrong. Also, don't think that, oh my God, all kids are just very messed up right now. No, alhamdulillah. We still have some mature families and kids in our community who can be good models, inshallah, for others. So what we're going to do, we're going to discuss these in more details. I'm going to give some suggestions on how to tackle each one of them, inshallah. So number 1, the religious identity. The religious identity. So what is the problem? What is the real problem we have when it comes to the religious identity? The first thing is the rise of the non-religious. What does that mean? In the Muslim community and outside of the Muslim community, the largest movement, we keep saying Islam is the fastest growing religion actually. Actually, that's not true. The fastest growing religion in America is what? The non-religious. The non-religious. And they don't want to, like our kids, if they leave Islam, they don't have to leave Islam to another religion. As a matter of fact, I said that last time in the presentation at RCM, I haven't met yet any Muslim kid who left Islam to Christianity or any other religion because it made more sense than Islam. No one did that yet. At least they didn't meet him yet or meet her. But I know a lot of them, they went to Christianity because of a girl. I've seen that. Or something else like this. But they leave Islam and they don't have to go anywhere else. So they become agnostics or atheists. So we have the rise of non-religious group and people. And we will discuss why kids they become actually non-religious. The number one reason for kids to leave Islam and turn non-religious is what? Can you guys guess? Huh? Parents? But why? Too much pressure. So what else? Freedom. Okay, so freedom, what does freedom mean? Actually, by the way, it's a very paradoxical statement. We say they're looking for freedom by taking what? Control. They want to take control of themselves, on their life. So what do? They're looking for freedom, so they take control of everything, so they drop deen and religion. So I can be free. So they want to control their circumstances. So therefore, they don't want to be responsible towards any authority, even if it was religious authority. The rise of a non-religious group, many of it is because of emotional crisis, whether they have issues with their parents, issues with their community, issue with their leadership, issue with their Masjid. Like anyone who represents the faith, when our kids don't see the role models you guys were talking about, we don't see the environment that provides for them that sense of, belonging, that makes them proud of who they're Muslims, it's hard for them to stay in that group. Like I, for example, grew up in the 1980s, and for those who know the culture of the 1980s, the Muslim world was actually the rise of the Islamic movement. They call it the awakening, as-sahwa. Like a lot of people coming out from the 60s and 70s, which was very, very liberal, extreme radical liberalism. So the 1980s and later became more religious. I grew up in that culture. And in that culture, it was so cool. Remember, it was so cool to be Muslim. Why? Because being Muslim, you're respectful, you're a person of principle, you have standards, this and that. People were so happy, and they would love to become affiliated with Islam and Muslims and Muslim culture. Today, that cool factor is no longer anymore. As a matter of fact, it's dangerous, and it's very concerning to many of our youth. Because if they want to become Muslims, they have to answer for all the troubles with the Muslim and Muslim Ummah that they see on the news. So therefore, because of that, they said, you know what, I don't have to worry about this issue, I drop out. So it's a matter of emotional crisis they have with that. The second is the ultra-interfaith. What does that mean? Our kids right now, because of the social injustice that we see in the world, and specifically in America, racism, anti-immigration, Trump, the rise of Islamophobia, all that stuff and so on, our kids are looking for alliance all over, right? And then, as a result of this, we start putting our alliance with everybody. So we create a new interfaith movement by making everybody is equal. Like Muslims, non-Muslims, regardless whether they worship God or no, we're all the same thing. So the interfaith became more like a human race. The human race is that we're all the same in terms of religiosity. And that is confuses our kids. So for them, that being Christian, being Jew, being Hindu, being this, it's okay. That's fine. It's okay. That's fine. That's a human right. You have the right to do whatever you want to do. As a Muslim, I believe in that too. But that doesn't mean we're all equal. We're all the same in the sense that we're all having the meaning of the truth or the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody claims that, no doubt about it. But as Muslims, I do believe, and I have to also profess that clearly, that I do believe that Islam is the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other people, they have the right to be whatever they want to be. But I cannot say worshipping Allah through Trinity is equal to worshipping one God, it is equal to worshipping idols and statues and so on. But our kids are growing up in this ultra-interfaith community, so the boundaries between Muslim and non-Muslim, it's no longer there anymore. So the value of Islam that get diluted in their understanding of religion. Islam in the media. Like I said, the cool factor back then is being Muslim. And now every time you try to write the word Islam and press enter, and you check images and videos, what comes out there is horrible. And as a result, our kids trying to disassociate themselves with that. And this, by the way, most of the pressure, may Allah bless our sisters, most of the pressure actually is more on the sister than on the brother. A lot of you guys, you walk around and you don't worry about it because you can blend in easily. But with the sisters, if they're wearing hijab, no matter how much they try, Unless the weather is freezing, everybody's wearing coats and beanies. In this case, everybody's wearing hijab, mashallah. But that's not the case. So for the sisters to walk around with their hijab, that's an unbelievable sacrifice, an unbelievable da'wah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and reward them for their patience. And the reward is greater, much greater than the reward we get as men really for that. So that's something we have a problem with, that the media is always taunting Muslims in a negative way. So our kids don't want to associate themselves with that image. The last thing here is that celebrations, religious identities. Like I said, our kids, if they go to public school, they color all these, different things. I know you might say, well, they're not supposed to teach religion, but now they call them cultural holidays. So they have winter, for example, holiday, which is for the Christmas. They have the fall holiday for Halloween, or even Thanksgiving and all that stuff and so on. So our kids are getting now confused. What do we celebrate and what not? And when it comes to speaking to children, you can't go trick and treat, for example. You say, but it's just candy. Yeah, it's just candy in a certain context. They don't understand the context. So it becomes a big challenge for us as parents to explain these things for our children. So these are the biggest challenges that we have with our kids when it comes to the religious identity. So what do we do? Here are a few suggestions for you, inshallah ta'ala. Number one, practice what you preach. What does that mean? Our kids, when they're young, they love to imitate you. They love to imitate you. So if you want really your kids to grow up proud of who they are as Muslims, then show it to them in your practice. Don't be that parents who are always paranoid for asking your kids to compromise on their religious identity, and then when they start becoming adults right now, they can't do it, so therefore you start worrying about why my kids are not doing what they're supposed to do. Practice what you speak or what you preach. Also, our kids, they see how we interact with Muslims versus non-Muslims, and they copy that. They need to see you, whether you deal with Muslims or Muslims, honesty, decency, adab, akhlaq, manners are equal, whatever actually you deal with people. So you need to practice what you preach over here. Number two, they're answering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to you. What does that mean? Specifically with older kids, when they become teenagers. Parents, they keep asking me, how much control do I have over my kids? Like, my kid's already 17, she doesn't pray regularly, blah, blah, blah. My kid does this, does that. So what do? You see, here's the thing. As a parent, I'm responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create the opportunity for my children to find guidance. So when they're young, I bring them to the Masjid, I give them this education, I practice in front of them, we pray together, we do this, we do that. So we do everything in our power to create that opportunity for our kids to be guided, inshallah ta'ala. Once they hit puberty, that's now a big challenge. The Prophet says in the hadith, يَعْجَبُ رَبُّكَ مِنْ شَابٍ لَيْسَتْ لَهُ صَبْوَةٌ. That it will be astonishing. It will be astonishing if a child goes through puberty, which means that age, without being rebellious. Kids rebel in that age group. So for a child to be guided in doing that age group, make a lot of dua for this. And subhanAllah, alhamdulillah, many kids when they rebel, at some point when they go back to the 20s, they start counting down a little bit. So what do I do in this case? You make sure that the foundation are sound and solid, inshallah ta'ala, because no matter where they go, and Allah guide their heart to Rabbil Alameen, once you hit that age, they go back to familiar places. And I hope their familiar places, inshallah ta'ala, something that you taught them in their childhood. So just keep doing that, and make sure that they always teach them that they answer to Allah, not to you. Like you keep telling your kids, like, listen, you know the salah, and when I ask about salah, I don't want you to pray for me, that's for you, I'm just reminding you, that's all. Like when I say, did you pray? Say, yes I did. Says, show me your hand, did you make wudu? No, that's for 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, but at 15, 16 years old, that's becoming too much right now. You need to get them now the sense of trust and delegate that responsibility towards them, for them. Slowly and gradually, so they realize, okay, this is their responsibility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, allow questions and look for answers. Some parents, they get scared when their kids asking questions, they're very scared when it comes to religion. Like saying, how do I know that Islam is the right religion? And the mother is like, I'm going to call your dad right now. Take it easy. If the child come and ask you a question about how do I know the Quran is the word of Allah, don't start freaking out, astaghfirullah, you're going to go to Jahannam for this. Take it easy. If you don't have the answer, then you know what? That's a valid question. Honestly, all what I know is this, but it's not satisfying. Let me get, inshallah, make an appointment between us and the Imam, and let's go and ask him. We don't know that. If he doesn't have the answer, we find someone else. We do our best to find answers. Like the point for you as a parent, be resourceful and opportunity to learn. Don't give the wrong answers because you're freaking out from the question. Number 4. Put faith into compassionate action. What does that mean? One of our biggest challenges today is that our Muslim brothers and sisters, our young kids basically, they don't see Muslims to be true to their words. Like you guys Muslims, you say that you're mercy to the world, you're this, you're that, but look at your actions. When you see a homeless in the street, I tell my parents, can I give them $1? No, don't give them anything. Why? They're going to drink with this thing. They say, not my business. I'll give them $1 and say, may God bless you. I just want them to feel compassionate and that I really care about people. Our duty, subhanAllah, as Muslims is truly and genuinely to really care about people. That's where volunteering comes in. I hope as parents, you guys take time and take your children and go out and volunteer. Volunteer with the Masjid, volunteer with the school where your kids go, volunteer to help the homeless, feed this and feed that. Volunteer, teach your children to be compassionate. If you can take them on a trip, international trip to serve in refugee camps, just do it. Because wallahi it will help them out. When I went to Bosnia, I lived there for 4 years in Bosnia. And again, my idea is that I'm going there to help the people. But wallahi, they end up helping me. I was there on the perception I'm going to change their lives. It ended up that they changed my life. Why? Because you live there and you see these people, subhanAllah, they're wonderful opportunities to help people, be compassionate and care about them, subhanAllah. Alhamdulillah, it became a family tradition. My wife went 3-4 times overseas, to serve in these refugee camps, to help out over there. My kids, alhamdulillah, they go now, they're 21, 19, and 16, and 9. The older ones, they go actually and volunteer with these international organizations. They go to the refugee camp and they come back with stories like, wow, alhamdulillah, they learned something. They care about other people. So please, make a plan for your youth, inshallah, to go and volunteer locally. And sometimes as a future, inshallah, will be international with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Celebrate Islamic festivals very well. Don't make Ramadan dull every month. And Ramadan becomes a crisis for the Ummah. You know why? Because all what we worry about is what? The suhoor and the futur. The suhoor and the iftar. So at suhoor time, the mom is yelling, wake your dad up, he's going to miss his suhoor. And they just fighting over this issue and subhanAllah becomes horrible. And forget about the moon fighting thing in the community. Just in our own household, it becomes so stressful to celebrate Eid. And when it comes to Eid, where do we go first? To your family's house or my family's house? And they start fighting over this issue, and the kids just like, forget you. We're not going to go anywhere. Make sure that they celebrate these festivities, inshallah, in a nice way with Allah Azza wa Jalla. And take them to Umrah early. If you haven't taken your kids to Umrah, please do so. Make it early. Don't say, well, inshallah, when I get, when I become free. You never become free. You need to free your time to do that. So take your kids at early age, inshallah ta'ala. SubhanAllah, these memories, first time memory, can be beautiful and sweet. But if you take your kids to Umrah after they hit 15, 16, and they already have questions about spirituality and so and so, if they go to Mecca, they might get actually disappointed even more. Make their first experience something memorable, inshallah ta'ala. That's the first area about religiosity. Number 2, the cultural identity. What problems do we have in our society, our community as parents with our children regarding their cultural identity? Number 1, the minority factor. You guys mentioned something about going to a Muslim country, finally we become majority. I don't have to think as a minority anymore. So our biggest issue is thinking as a minority. Now, sometimes actually being a minority has its own perks as well too in this society. You can create more alliance, become more active, because when you're a majority, you relax. Your minority become more active. So use this to your advantage. But we have an issue that our kids be minorities. Take it to the micro level. If you have kids, they go to non-Muslim school, they go to public school. Your Muslim child becomes a minority there, especially if you're wearing hijab. Can you imagine 3,000, I don't know how big or small your high schools are, But when you have 3,000, 4,000 kids in the high school campus, and you have 5 hijabis over there, man, can you imagine how tough that is? Alhamdulillah, we do a lot of working with the school district actually to create this cultural sensitivity. And even though we have few hijabis in the school district, subhanAllah, still the school district, graciously they accept when they put posters of instructions, they always include hijabis on these posters to serve the few people in your community. But we're going to have to be active on this. So the issue might be minority. The immigrant mentality. A lot of parents, when they move to America, they say, for 5 years, inshallah. They've been here for the past 50 years, they still counted the 5 years. They have a problem with math, probably. So for 5 years, and they still counted the 5 years until today. That's number one. You guys have to decide. You guys have to decide. When I retire here, or I retire there. That decision is going to actually really affect the way you lead your life in this community. The other thing, a lot of people, when they moved here, they kept 1 foot here and 1 foot there. So as a result, they never lived in America. They only resided in America. But their life is already there. As a result, when they watch TV, what kind of TV do they watch? The cultural TV. So they don't watch CNN, they don't know what's going on in America, but they can tell you everything's going on in Pakistan or Bangladesh or Syria or anything else in the world. So the immigrant mentality, it's not bad or good, but can be actually an obstacle on blending in or at least getting integrated into society. The language barrier. The language barrier. I'm surprised, to be honest. I've been living in this country for the past 20 years right now. When I first moved to America, I spoke 2 languages, Arabic and Bosnian, and didn't know much English really. In 20 years, alhamdulillah, this is my language, self-taught. I did not go to school for it here. And I've seen people living here for 30, 40 years, and I'm surprised they still speak, broken English. It's like, even they have heavy accents sometimes. What is the problem? I don't know. It's a matter of effort, matter of, urgency, how you understand it. But for me as an imam, I thought, if Allah says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ, that we haven't sent a messenger but to speak the tongue of his people. So I made this a mission for me to learn that language, which I did, alhamdulillah. And a lot of people, they have a language barrier. That language barrier, specifically for the sisters, it blocks them from participating in a lot of outside of the Muslim community activity. So if there's a program happening in the city, they want to go. Parent-teacher conference, they send the father, for example, or anybody else and so on. So they don't want to go because they have a language barrier. And as a result, they start having the same problem with their kids. They want their kids to speak the cultural language, and it goes by force sometimes. That makes the kid to be quiet and go into silent treatment for a very long time because I don't have to talk at all. So be careful with that. The meaning of respect, which all of you mentioned, right? I talk about respecting the elders. What defines respect? That is a big problem. Because what defines respect obviously has to do also with the culture. Like here in America, answering back is not being disrespectful. It's just being individualistic. That's part of the culture over here. But for us, answering back, man, that's equal to kufr probably. So therefore, take it easy on our children. Let's try to understand that, inshallah. The religious versus the cultural. A lot of our kids, they're confused because of our culture, our standards. Like, what is real Islamic, what is not Islamic? And sometimes parents, they force cultural standards and making them Islamic. Give an example. Specifically in marriage. When people want to get married, our kids, they live a very multicultural community or society. They grow up, they eat different food, they meet different people with different colors, different backgrounds, but the parents, they're still within their small cultural or subcultural groups. So when our kids want to get married, the parents, they might say no, across culture marriage. Why? Because, we don't know our culture, this and that, and our kids who grow up don't see these colors or these boundaries. They start having an issue with their parents. Like, that's your culture, not my culture, and this will have a clash between the younger generation and the generation gap we talked about earlier. The baseball cap factor. What does that mean? It's interesting actually because some imams don't allow kids. I've heard that before. Alhamdulillah, we're better right now though, but that was before. Some imams actually they discourage kids from wearing baseball caps. Do you guys believe it? You cannot wear baseball caps. Why? Because that's not a Muslim tradition. So what do you wear? You wear the kufi, this and that. I said, really? So drinking Coke and Sprite is mashallah is Muslim culture, yani? So eventually, some people, they have this standard that if you wear a baseball cap, they have a problem with that. Like I give you a question right now for you guys. What would happen to you, or what would you do if the Imam came for Salatul Jum'ah on the minbar wearing a baseball cap? What would you do?
Ask him to step down.
Right? Step down, or just like, could you please go out? Let's have somebody else give the khutbah. In our perception, we have associated this with certain identity. Like what if in Texas, if I try to, because I do actually wear cowboy hats, but what if I do that on the minbar?
That would be nice.
That would be nice, right? That would be cool. And start speaking the Texan slang, basically. But no, in reality, it's something people might not actually be in favor of that, because we still have some cultural factors dominating our understanding of religion. And here, the law-abiding citizens. Our kids, they grow up, they want to be loyal citizens. They want to be understanding the law and respecting the law and so forth. But their children, their parents sometimes, go and try to create some confusion between the law of the land and the religious rules. So don't be that source of confusion, which causes that first problem we have talked about earlier, the identity crisis. When we have all these issues, our kids just like, I can't wear a baseball cap, I can't wear jeans, I have to wear sawal kameez when I walk around the house, blah, 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 all that stuff. I said, Jama'ah, you have to understand, your kids don't understand from your culture, who were born and raised over here, they don't understand your culture from your culture except for the spices and the dress code, probably. Other than that, they're citizens of this society, so you need to also open up to this. What suggestions do we have for you? Number one, separate culture from Islam. Please, 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 please. If you have any discussion over this matter between you and your children, instead of trying to enforce what you have always thought to be the right thing, maybe it's time that we go and learn and ask the sheikh, ask the imam, and so on. And don't be biased, which means don't go and ask specific imams because you know that they're going to give you the answer you're looking for. No, be neutral. Look for someone who's really neutral who can help you with that, inshallah ta'ala. And if that requires counseling with a professional counselor, I'll go for it. I'll do it. Number two, let them be part of their hybrid culture. Like, it's okay if my kids go to Jum'ah wearing baseball cap. It's okay. I would love for them to wear maybe the Arab garb and have a head cover. I would love that, right? But I'm not going to do this, by force on them. For Eid, which is very interesting actually. Yeah, for Eid, my son, he always wants to wear the Arab thing. He does it only for Eid. Yeah. He wears the full thobe and he puts the whole thing on top and then the whole head cover and take pictures. If anyone saw our pictures, actually he always does that. And he wants to look cool, subhanAllah. I'm happy for him, but that's by choice. But I'm not going to force that on them. Also, travel to their cultural places. What does that mean? Some of these cultural places are actually local to your community and others overseas. Like if you want them to love that culture, take them over there. Alhamdulillah, every now and then I take my kids, or at least we send our kids to go somewhere. Like we said, they go to serve the refugees, they go to Jordan, they go to Bosnia, where I lived there for 4 years, they go to Turkey, so they see a whole different perspective. When they see the variety of that culture, they can make decisions for themselves. But if you always want to shove it down their throat without understanding why it is so special, they're not going to follow. Don't force a language on them. You can speak it with them, you can talk with them about this language, but don't force it on them. My kids, my wife is also an Arab, so we speak Arabic at home. However, my kids, they grow up actually speaking English, because all their friends were English speakers. So therefore, it was so hard on us to maintain the Arabic language as a spoken language in the household. Now that they're becoming adult, mashallah, they themselves, now, they come to us, they want to talk Arabic. Why? Because for them, they learned it's interesting. So, because it's cool when you talk to another Arab, among people who don't understand Arabic, to have a code language, basically. So now, they're speaking that language, but we don't force it on them.
Yeah, just a small question on this. So when your kids were growing up,
Were you forced them to speak Arabic at the time? I mean,
No, we would actually speak with them in Arabic. They answer in English. We don't force it.
so were they speaking Arabic, good Arabic when they were 9, 10 years old?
Relatively, yes. I would say not necessarily perfect, but they spoke part of it Arabic. And in order for you to continue to learn the Arabic language or whatever language they actually speak, they have to have an immersion experience. So if you have a big family, like if you live in Chicago, you're definitely going to come out speaking Arabic. Because there are a lot of actually big Arab families in there. My family, actually, my certain family is in Indiana. So my nephews and nieces, who the age group of my kids, they speak perfect Arabic. But guess what? They don't know how to read it. My kids do.
I see.
So it's a different. How do you practice the language?
So you're saying when they grow up, they become more interested in Arabic?
They become more interested in the language. But just don't force it on them. Just keep talking to them, speak to them, and if you want to teach them, that's okay. But don't try to force it. If they start shutting down when you try to talk with you in English and you just like, speak with me in Arabic. It's okay, fine. Assalamu alaikum. They leave. So they're not going to talk to you at all. No. Adapt and change your parenting style. Our kids, they hate it when they hear from you, when I was your age, my father, my mom. Good for you, right? The kids, they hate that. So you need to learn, because parenting is a skill. And those skills, subhanAllah, they upgrade and downgrade and they learn new things. So please learn some of the new parenting skills, inshallah. Next, the gender issue. What's the gender identity right now? Especially in time like ours, obviously, it has become more of like a political issue more than a cultural issue. And that's what we've seen back in 2016 and before that for the elections, right? The gender became a big deal in the subject of election, who's get elected. So you guys need to understand when it comes to dealing with opposite gender and how do you treat them and how do you view gender issues, it's no longer just a matter of halal haram to your children. It's a matter of cultural identity for them. Like you guys are backward. So why did they say that? Because they want to be American. So what does it mean to be American? There's certain standard for gender identity and gender interaction. But as Muslim, I also need my kids to grow up understanding, yes, there's a way to deal with it, but how? If we always just could put the barriers for our children, and without teaching them how to do it properly, it becomes problematic for them. So that's something we need to keep in our understanding. And with all due respect, even our Masjid as well, when we put barriers like this, for example, or how to set up the brother from the sisters and all that stuff, it gives certain perception. Like why, for example, we have bigger space for the brothers than for the sisters, although the size of the crowd is almost identical and the same. So these things actually, it sounds trivial, but kids make actually judgment based on these decisions that we choose to make in our households or in our actually masajid and so on. There are too many genders to even to number right now, right? So you don't have just male and female. Oh Lord, we have tons of genders right now. So our kids are dealing with more challenges than we did before. So cross-gender interaction, this is the biggest challenge we have in our household, our community. How do we interact with our cousins, our relatives, the mahram and non-mahram relationship? We need to teach our children how to do it properly and how to do it right. How? Number one, teach modesty, not bashfulness. What does that mean? People, they misunderstand the point. You know, being modest is different from being bashful. In Arabic, bashfulness is khajal. And khajal is a negative attitude, but modest is a positive attitude, which is haya. So you have the haya, which means you're practical, you're still proactive, right? You're very proactive right now when we deal with the things, when we talk to other people and so forth. You're not always withdrawing and running away because I can't really, I can't deal with it. I'm so scared. I don't know how, and so on and so. That's called bashfulness. That's wrong. But modesty, when I speak with the opposite gender, I have standard for this. I have a standard of respect, standard of looking away. I don't have to keep staring at the person to make them feel uncomfortable. And even today, subhanAllah, under the Me Too movement and all that stuff, we realize people are going back again to some basic etiquette, subhanAllah. Like keeping a space, don't travel with someone from the opposite gender for work alone, don't stay in the same hotel, same floor, even they say, and now they even say don't be on the elevator with them alone. It's to that level, subhanAllah. Where is this coming from? That's the fitrah. We run back again to the fitrah again. Teach what is right. Teach your kids what is right, not just what is wrong. And this is mentioned again. Don't just keep telling them this is haram. Teach them how to do it right. And if you don't know it yourself, please ask someone who can help you with that. Build confidence with respect. Build confidence with respect. Like, especially for our girls, when they wear the hijab, a lot of them, they feel, uneasy about it. But I hope, inshallah, that you guys have a strategy for your daughters when they start wearing the hijab, inshallah, and how to make them feel proud and confident with themselves. Similar with your boys. As now they're becoming, mashallah, semi-independent from you, you actually take them by hand on how to become men, inshallah, ta'ala. Differentiate between ideology and law. Ideology and law, especially when it comes to subject of gender. Like ideology, like what? Dealing, for example, with the opposite gender, or even LGBTQ, for example. All these cultural things. So there is a big difference between what I believe as Muslims regarding these issues and what is the law of the land. So I respect the law of the land in regards to how to deal with them, what are their rights in the society, but as Muslim, I still preserve my confidence in regards to my beliefs about these matters. Like I believe this is haram, is offensive, but we live in this country, they have the certain rights, I respect the right according to the law of the land. Gender roles, modern versus traditional. As a Muslim, I do believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created man and woman for different roles. He created them for different roles. And as a result, there are some differences between men and women in this creation. And therefore, we have to observe that. Just to dissolve all these things in order to support a specific political agenda or cultural agenda is not healthy. So we need to be confident teaching our kids how to do that. Like for my boys, for example, I teach them that they're the man of the man of the house, this and that, but at the same time, I teach them how to treat their sisters, how to teach their mothers, how to treat women, to be respectful, to be this and to be that. Same thing with my daughters. I teach them how to be confident, how to finish their school and become, inshallah ta'ala, productive and this and that. But at the same time, I need them to understand if they choose at some point to become part of the family, their priority is to be actually the lady of the house and also the mother of the children and all these things. So we believe in these traditional roles, but at the same time taking perspective on other roles in the society as well, inshallah ta'ala. We're going to have to go quickly, inshallah, to here. Education and schooling, type of schooling, which one is better? Islamic school, public school, homeschooling, what is it? Let's hear from you guys. How many of you prefer Islamic school? Raise your hand if you say Islamic school is better. Public school, homeschooling, charter school, no school at all. Just leave them. They will be fine, inshallah, right? Okay. This is a debate that we will never really end, unfortunately, easily. We can't. If you ask me about it, I've tried all kinds of schools. I tried Islamic schools. I even helped founding Islamic school, actually. Islamic school, charter school, public school, homeschooling, health programs. I even sent my kids overseas. I came to the conclusion that really it's not about what kind of schooling, it's about the household. That's number one. And your kids are not all the same. Which means one of them might work better in Islamic school, the other one would work actually better in public school. If you're going to put all of them in public school or all of them in Islamic school because, they have to, not necessarily. So they're different. So that's something we're going to have to take it easy on ourselves. School curriculum is one of the biggest challenges we have in our schools, whether it's Islamic school or public school. The school curriculum, by the way, is not necessarily designed to create the identity you're looking for. Especially in public school. They designed this for corporate world, really. In Islamic school, a lot of it is about the homework, just to make sure that we tell the people we teach your kids what needs to be taught. So it's not really about building maybe character, it's more of just giving people information. And it's the Islamic school at home that matters. I mean by that the Islamic education. Because some parents, they put their kids in Islamic school just to relieve themselves from the responsibility. So when their kids come back home, they don't practice what they learn. So make sure that they see what they study in the school over there. When it comes to sex education, parents, they're so scared teaching their kids that stuff. But it's your responsibility, your duty as a parent to speak with your children when they reach that age about what is appropriate, what is not, what is right, what is wrong, and so on. Suggestions. Stay involved in their school, no matter what kind of school your kids go to. Islamic school, public school, charter school, homeschooling, any kind of school your kids, even Montessori, whatever school they go to, please get involved and be active with the school in many, many different ways. Even if you say, well, I don't speak the language very well, learn it. And you know what? You don't really have to speak the English language, because subhanAllah, culturally speaking and human nature, if they like you, they will forgive you. Like if you have a good interaction, social interaction with them, if you make mistakes in the way you speak, it doesn't matter. They will be okay. When it comes to your kids, be prepared with correct answer. And if you don't have the correct answer, what do? Be resourceful. Finding the answers, inshallah, if you don't have them. Teach them correct Islamic values. I repeat the word correct Islamic values. And differentiate between cultural and Islamic. Like I remember one of the brothers one time came to me discussing something with me. I said, this is the answer to it. I gave him the Islamic answer to it. Because you know what, Sheikh, I understand that, this is all good, but in our culture we do these things. And I was like, La ilaha illallah. And the moment I heard, I said, Astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah. Like I said, you know what, you just said exactly what the people of Mecca told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That we saw our forefathers doing these things, we're going to do their things. So make sure that you teach them the correct Islamic values. If you don't know what is right, what is wrong, ask. We will find inshallah an answer for you with Allah. Take initiative in teaching kids about sex and puberty. Don't wait until the last moment. Because your kids right now, if they have access to the internet, probably have seen more than what you think. And if their friends have access to the internet and smartphones, they've already probably shown them things they're not supposed to see at this age. So you need to be preemptive as a parent and talk to them, inshallah, about these issues. And by the way, the boys, it's your duty as a man to talk to them about it, and the girls for the mothers, right? Does it mean men, women, cannot talk to the opposite gender of their kids? Yes, you can. There is a way of doing that, but subhanAllah, you have to realize that your kids, they model their human behavior with the opposite gender based off yours. So the mother, she is the role model for her daughters and how basically to deal with a man. And you as a man, you're the role model for your daughters on how you treat a woman as well too. So make sure to have it the right way, inshallah. Diversify your content based on age groups. Like don't try to teach all the kids the same thing right away. Especially memorizing the Quran or studying hadith or seerah. Like we have the whole family getting together in the same hadith and you have little kids that don't understand what you're talking about. Or you're trying to dumb things down for the little ones and the older ones just feel bored. So you're going to have to diversify the way you teach your kids, inshallah ta'ala. And learn to let go. Parents, learn to let go. A lot of parents, they ruin their kids' lives. Why? Because actually they're just freaking out that they're going to lose control over them. So they become micromanagers. I'm not asking the parents to let go of their parenting role and being the parents for their children. No, you still need to be a parent. You still need to instruct them. And you still need to be there, inshallah, to make sure that they're okay with Allah Azza wa Jal. But don't be a micromanager that will suffocate them in everything. Because if you just going to monitor everything in details, at some point they're going to break away because that's it, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. I have met actually a lot of kids, unfortunately, they lose motivation because they never try, they cannot do anything without being judged, without being criticized, without being this and that as a form of control from their parents. So please make sure to learn at some point to let go. Like I remember teaching my kids, not my first one, I specifically mentioned that in details for them. I said, listen to me. I said, you and I are just like this. I said, the pen. I'm holding you from here. I have control, I have all this control over you, and you have this much only. And as you grow older, we're going to start swapping. So when my kids start seeing more control, get excited. So he wants to jump, and take more. I break, I press, I hold it. I'll wait. Slowly and gradually, until, for example, you finish high school, and then in this case, we swap. You have all this control right now, and I have this much. So you guys as parents, you need to let go. Some parents, they keep holding their kids like this, and they never let go. So no matter what the kids try to do, they can't. So they become socially crippled in this case. They don't know how to make decisions, they're so scared, and eventually they just cannot decide to always play it safe. Social life and social media, when teenagers rebel, that's what happens when they reach that age of puberty. The thing that the kids want to have is start having their own personal space. So it means they need control. And like I said, if you don't give them that control, supervised control, they're going to steal it from you at some point. So you need to be the one who's given in that control. That is actually done verbally, done also, practically. You talk about it, say, listen, you're going to take that chance, but now I'm going to have to do this decision for you. Once you get to this age, it's going to be your decision right now. Like you cannot always, make the decision for your kids what they buy for clothes when they're 15, 16 years old, right? You don't go and say, wear this or wear this or wear that. Give them the chance to choose, but still under your supervision. Like if they're going to choose to wear a shirt with have an offensive word, says, no, you're not going to do that. Well, I want to wear this. You're not going to do this. This is inappropriate. You're not supposed to do that. So you have to still have standard with them, inshallah. Modesty. On social media, specifically on social media. Like I said, because everybody's looking and craving for attention, and they want the likes and the shares and the comments and so on, people start compromising their modesty. You know how many kids they post these pictures? What bothers me the most actually, when they put their pictures and they post, actually they dress up and they take a picture in the bathroom. You can tell the brand of shampoo they use and even the kind of paper towels they have in there, and you can tell so many about their household secrets from these pictures. But they compromise their modesty sometimes with this. Technology. That's one of the biggest challenges we have with our kids today. Because at school, the school give them access to that technology for homework. They no longer have physical books. Everything is online and so on. So our kids need access to the technology. When do we give our kids phones? That's a whole different game, different discussions. Is it 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 13 years? I don't want to deal with this right now, but I can tell you, don't give it prematurely. And don't try to give your kids phones so that you win their love because you're too busy to being a parent. Make sure to do it the right way, inshallah ta'ala. Depression and suicide. A lot of it is attributed to the interaction on social media, by the way. Why? Because bullying happens over there. A lot of anxiety because I'm losing friends, I'm losing this, I'm not as popular as this person or that person. Social comparison is one of these killers of happiness in our lives. As a matter of fact, they say the great killer, or you could say the robber of our happiness, is social comparison. Like your life is always awesome until you compare it to other people's lives. Then you feel your life is miserable. And if you watch commercials on TV, man, that's the purpose of these commercials. To tell you your life is bad, you have to have this to be happy, blah, 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 so you'll never be satisfied at all. So be careful with that. And your kids, if they watch TV and there's commercials there, they get used to that. So they will always be unhappy with what they have or what they see. Let's finish this, inshallah, and we'll come back, inshallah. I have last points, inshallah. Social life and social media, what do we do? Number one, rules of technology for all. Like, for example, no phones go upstairs. They always stay downstairs, for example. No phones after 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. They stay on the charger on the counter, for example, in the kitchen. If they are younger than, let's say, 15, 16 years old, I have free access to check the phone every now and then. After that, you know what? I don't have to keep doing that. What if my kid do this? What if my kid do that? Well, if you suspect something, then have a conversation with them and make a decision on this. You're still the parents. You're still paying the bill. You're the one who bought that phone for them. You still have the right to make a parental decision on this. As a parent, your responsibility or your job is not to make them happy. That's not your job to make them happy. That's their job to be happy. Your job is to make them responsibility. Happiness is their own personal responsibility. Prepare to give them space. Like we said, slowly and gradually, give them that control. Stay a parent, not just a friend. Like many parents say, you don't need to be a friend with your kids. Your kids don't need you as a friend, Jama'ah. They have a lot of friends already. They still need you as a parent. Can you be a friend with your child? Of course you can, but don't start, going down to that level where they lose respect for you. You have to keep a standard. I'm your friend, but when I need to step in as a parent, I will be that parent. And that's what kids need from you. By the way, they might show that they hate it, but deep inside, they're relieved. Because at least someone, adult, made a decision for me on this issue. And that's something that's very relieving for them. Start counseling with a professional. I know we have a stigma against counseling, like my kids are this, my kid is that. Not necessarily. Take it easy on yourself. You can still, inshallah ta'ala, have a good relationship with them, bin Allah Azza wa Jal. Give them calculated choices, like allow your kids to have options, but limited and calculated choices as well. Invite their friends over, and be selective in that regard, obviously, not all the time, even if they are not Muslims, actually friends. create a healthy social and faith-based home environment. Like have the adhan there at home, the Quran, you read the Quran, let them listen to you and watch you read the Quran. Create that environment, inshallah ta'ala. Hopefully they keep beautiful memories with them when they grow older with Allah Azza wa Jalla. And here, the last thing we want to talk about is here, the substance abuse, porn addiction, music addiction, games addiction, ADHD, thug life. They want to be like, rebellious and so forth. These are many common things happen in our community, in our society, as some addictions in our society. So what do we suggest for families in regard to these issues? Stay alert and observe the change. You need to go to a professional and tell them, what do I need to pay attention? What do I need to observe to know if my kid is hiding something? What's going on in their lives? What are the symptoms for this or for that? Because when you start seeing your child changing about you, it doesn't mean they're actually watching pornography or shooting drugs. Maybe they're just, falling into an emotional attachment. So you need to learn how to differentiate things and learn about this, inshallah. Learn about drugs and addiction, especially the modern drugs. Do you even know what is the most common drug actually kids use these days? Do you know the name of these things? Do you know what kind of vaping they use and what is the most common e-cigarette they use right nowadays? Because they don't want their parents to see these things right away. The e-cigarette that they use is as big and as thick as this thing. And parents don't see it because you can hide it in any pocket, in any person, anything, right? And the kids still do that. And some of these actually vapes don't have smell. So therefore they just kind of like shoot that through the window and that doesn't leave any odor in the house. So that's something is very dangerous. We've seen how dangerous they are. Some states actually now they're banning e-cigarettes in their states. Have an open mind and heart. When your kids come to you and says, Mom, I think I'm in love. Don't say, oh my God, you're going to kill me. Oh my God, I'm going to die. What did I do wrong in my life? Well, don't be all melodramatic, man. Take it easy. It's not about you right now. It's about your child. So therefore, have an open mind. Have a right conversation with them. Help them out. Say, you know what? Interesting. Let's talk about this. And inshallah, if we don't know how to deal with this, seek professional help, inshallah, ta'ala. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst all the time. Get help when needed. Accept the halal alternatives. You're going to have to learn sometimes to let go and compromise, give and take, even with your children. You're going to have to learn that. The last thing about this point I want to mention to you is that you are responsible only for making the effort. As for the results, they are in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Finally, where do I go wrong? You have to understand that your role is changing as your kids grow and older. Your role changes from being the hands-on parents to the hands-off parents. From being the sage on the stage, from being the guide on the side. Your role changes as a parent. And you're going to have to accept, to upgrade and learn, and also slowly and gradually to let go of that control. When parenting becomes about you, not about the children, that becomes problematic. Like in the Arab culture, there is a very common statement. When our kids do something wrong, what do Arabs say, by the way? What do Arabs? When our kids do something wrong, what do we say? Huh? No. When they do something wrong, we say, فضحنا. Right? What's the meaning of فضحنا? Like, oh my God, what is she, like you're embarrassing us. Embarrassing us, what does that mean to the children? You're so selfish. You care about yourself, you care about your image, not about me anymore. So you're going to have to learn how to do that right, inshallah ta'ala. Over-parenting, micromanaging. Most parents who micromanage, they are actually so concerned for themselves because they're afraid of losing control. So they overparent, that, and they overkill it. And that kills the spirit of their children as well too. Raising the perfect child. That's not your job. What is your job? Raising what? A responsible child. That's all. What does that mean? Responsible child, what do? A lot of mistakes. But what's so special about it? They learn from it. And that's your duty over here. Focusing on happiness, that's not your job again. You're not responsible for their happiness, you're responsible for making them responsible only, or the job to make them responsible. Idealism versus reality. A lot of us may think that this doesn't happen to us because alhamdulillah our household is amazing, is perfect, is this and that. But reality tells us even Nuh alayhi salam, the one who gave 950 years da'wah, he still ended up with a non-Muslim child and a non-Muslim wife. And that's a problem. So you need to be realistic about the outcome. That might be not necessarily in your favor. Last, final inshallah ta'ala. Here, Ali ibn Abi Talib said, أَدِّبُوا أَبْنَاءَكُمْ لِزَمَانٍ لَا لِزَمَانِكُمْ فَإِنَّمَا خُلِقُوا فِي زَمَانٍ غَيْرِ زَمَانِكُمْ. Which means, raise your children to live their time, not your time. Because they were born in a time different than yours. So they need to meet the challenges of their time, not your time. So be prepared for that, inshallah, tabarak wa ta'ala. Wallahu ta'ala. There's more, but I want to have to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, because we still have a flight coming up soon, inshallah. Any questions? Anyone, you had a question, right?
I had a comment.
Yes, hold on.
Social media,
Now,
depression,
and anxiety and
there's two things coming up. First, young kids getting exposed to emotional information older than their age.
true.
Affect the dopamine in their body,
Yes.
the chemical standpoint.
Yes, yes.
That's the dangerous.
So when they read all these comments,
Once they start, they just
yeah.
don't read it from the kids. That this is the chemical power addiction.
yes. Mm.
Another thing is as well is when you give the kids the survival at an age, there are videos, I'm not sure if you watch that, with the kids, there are a lot of ads coming up for young age up to 3 and 4 years of age movies.
That's true.
Section.
That's true.
That is teaching kids addiction at some age.
And that is true. I mean, that's the problem with watching social media without supervision with your kids as well too. And subhanAllah, it's very dangerous, Allah understand, nowadays. And unfortunately, there is really no rules against this issue. And this goes back again to the culture of our society. Who decides what's right, what's wrong? Who says this is ethical or unethical? The two different standards, of course. Allah. Any question, Imam? Okay, with that being said, now I want to hear from you guys right now. Tell me, what did you learn from this conversation? I know it was a little bit long because this is actually supposed to take 3 hours workshop, but we made it in halftime, alhamdulillah. So let's see right now, what did you guys learn from this discussion? Tell me something you learned. Yes.
The good thing that I liked about the session today was like we didn't just focus on the issues. The following slide that you had on session was really something I really liked.
Alhamdulillah, so it's not always problems, there's always solutions. Alhamdulillah. So even if you have a problem in your household, look for suggestion, inshallah. Yes. Yes.
A couple things that I can number one is raising up a responsible child. That's the most important.
Raising a responsible child is your duty, not a perfect child.
Absolutely.
No.
Second thing is letting go and that's the most difficult part that every parent has.
You have to learn to let go, and you have to lead the way for your children so you can let go, inshallah, easily with Allah. Very good. Anybody else? Yes.
The same, Ali ibn Talib, it's just amazing how, foresight he had,
That is a gem, right?
Yes.
And that was 1400 years ago. Like he lived way before that, and he has a vision for our time, subhanAllah. Just like, take it easy on your children. They were raised at a time, they were born at a time different than yours, so prepare them for their challenges. Now, yes.
So we may be living 1 foot here, 1 foot overseas. We may be living 2 feet here. Maybe it doesn't matter. Our kids are here. They're American Muslims. They're trying to find out what does that mean. And we have to give up our, comfort sometimes to make sure that we help them do that instead of focusing on other countries.
So us having 1 foot here, 1 foot there, that is our issue. Our kids, they live over here. So therefore we're going to have to let go of some of our comfort zone in regard to this issue to help our kids adjust to their own reality right now. Jazakallah khair. Yes, you want to say something?
Actually, a similar point, but also overreacting for when the kids do something that, as a parent, you think, okay, this is just, out of control.
Don't overreact. Whatever happens, whatever your kids do, you need to be control of your behavior. Jazakallah khair. Sisters, what do you guys have? Yes.
As parents in the West, as we are living in the West, we feel sometimes as a mother, we are feeling more responsibility and more pressurized from all of the sides, from the kid's side, from the husband's side, to the father. They don't take the responsibility to educate themselves enough so they can raise their kids with us. But we are at the one side, and the father's at the one side, and they don't feel any responsibility.
But why? Why? Because culturally they think that's the mother's job, right?
Yeah.
But you have to give these guys credit. They stayed all this time sitting here learning. So thank you guys for being here, mashallah. Jazakallah khair.
For the whole conversation as we heard,
No.
the main point is education.
Education, learn. Never stop learning.
Yeah.
Never
We
stop
have
learning.
Education.
No.
So we have enough knowledge so we can raise our kids better.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Sisters, anything else? Alright, we close with this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise your children to be the comfort of your eyes and the heart in the dunya and akhirah, ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide your heart to that which is pleasing to Him, Ya Allah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us and our children that which is right and follow it, and that which is wrong and stay away from it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to plant in our hearts and the hearts of our children the love for one another, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to plant in the hearts of our children their love for their deen, for their iman, the love for their identity as being Muslim, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise our children to become the righteous leaders in their households, in their communities, in the society, Ya Rabbil Alameen, around the world. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reunite us with our children in Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.